Hey everybody, this is Blake here. I am going to be reviewing Chernobyl Diaries. Anyway, this was a movie that I kind of wanted to see at first. I liked the trailer. I thought it looked like it could be creepy. The concept was pretty unique. I like Oren Peli, who directed Paranormal Activity, even though he's been too much of a pussy to direct anything since then. Primarily, he's just been producing stuff like Insidious and a few others, like the Paranormal Activity sequels. It just looked like it could be a cool horror film. Then they did not screen it for critics, which was definitely a warning sign. And then when the reviews actually started coming in, they were pretty negative. So I went into the movie with low expectations. And throughout the bulk of the film, I was surprised at how much people disliked this movie. I was really liking it. I really liked 80% of this movie. Now, a lot of people complained about the characters. The characters didn't bother me as much as they apparently bothered everybody else. Yeah, they could be unsympathetic at times. They could be pretty stupid. But when they did something really stupid, it was something I could honestly see real people doing. And when it came to them being unsympathetic and stuff like that, you know, when you're in a high-stress situation like that, yeah, you're going to be kind of a douche at times. But what I did appreciate about the characters was that they were never too one-note. You'd see them acting heroic one scene, and then they'd be total cowards in the next. The characters who you think are going to be useless or disposable, they turned out to be pretty useful and pretty endearing. But at the same time, there was nothing spectacular about the characterizations. I really wasn't for them too much or against them. They were just kind of bland and typical for this type of movie. The acting was fine, even though, what's-his-face, Jesse McCarthy, he kind of feels too young for the part. But otherwise, I thought everybody did an acceptable job. But what I really loved about this movie, for the most part, was how mysterious it is. You don't really know what to expect. Now, just from the trailers, I immediately figured this was going to be some sort of ghost movie, that the ghosts of the victims of the Chernobyl accident were haunting these people. But that's not necessarily the case. Throughout most of the movie, I really wasn't sure what was going on. You know, certain things happened that I was not expecting to happen. The first real scare sequence, I'm not going to spoil it, but I was like, I wasn't expecting that. I expected many things to happen, but not that to come out. And then the next few scare sequences, I'm wondering, now, is this supernatural, or is there a logical explanation behind all of this? And throughout the bulk of the movie, I really appreciated how ambiguous and mysterious everything was. It was a great example of what scares you is not what you see, but what you don't see. And I was really into it. I was constantly on the edge of my seat, biting my nails. I was like, what's going on? What's going to happen next? What's lurking behind that corner? And the film only cost $1 million to make, but it looks great. The cinematography is very moody and polished, which is a surprise because apparently a lot of this movie was shot in digital, so a lot of the backgrounds were obviously fake. But you can't really tell too much. I mean, okay, yeah, I guess if you really wanted to be analytical there, you could probably tell that, yeah, it definitely does look a little too digital, but not as bad as I would have expected for a movie with that budget. It never bothered me at all, anyway. The settings are, of course, grim and bleak, and they are very effective for a horror setting. The director, I thought, did a good job when it came to building suspense and building a sense of dread. I love it when they use the background when it comes to horror films. So you'll have characters talking, and it'll be kind of a close-up, and you just happen to see a shadowy figure dart past the screen in the background. But it never draws too much attention to itself. I always like that kind of stuff. And like I said, I was totally into this movie, but then they really had to fuck it up with the ending. Now, bad endings in horror films aren't too uncommon. The main problem with horror in general is that it's become such a cliche. You know how most of these movies are going to end. The Saw films, for example, it wasn't that the endings were bad, it was just that they stopped being really effective. But when it comes to movies or horror films with really bad endings, when people think about that, they think of, The Last Exorcism. Okay, that Last Exorcism did not have a good ending, but it wasn't so much that I thought the ending in itself was awful. It was just that it felt out of place compared to the rest of the movie. It just felt like it belonged in a different kind of movie. With The Devil Inside, that movie didn't end as much as it just stopped. It was like, you know what, we're tired of filming this, let's go ahead and do something else. So they just stopped it right there. And that definitely sucked. But with this film, I wish it did just stop. They explain it too much, and it leaves so many unanswered questions, so many plot holes. It makes the things that I liked about it, the ambiguity and the mystery behind it all, it made all of that seem really nonsensical, very illogical, and very stupid. I hate it because the ending makes the entire movie look bad. And I think that's at least part of the reason why people hate this movie so much, is everything I liked about it just suddenly turned sour. All that mystery and all the stuff that it's really building up to. I'm expecting something awesome, but it's just such a lame twist. For one, it turns the movie, which one of the things I liked about the movie too, and I kind of alluded to before, was it is very different, primarily because of the setting. But once they reveal, who and why and what and all that stuff, it becomes very conventional. It's like, okay, this is not that different from many other movies I've seen. And you're constantly finding yourself asking, why would this be here? Or why would they even include that scene? Because now it makes no sense now that you know what was going on. And that's what makes it so frustrating, is that it completely ruins the rest of the movie. Whereas with Devil Inside and The Last Exorcism, yeah, the endings aren't very good, but I wouldn't say they affected the rest of the movie too much. I mean, maybe a little with Devil Inside, but I still liked The Last Exorcism despite the ending. And but with this one, it just makes everything seem bad now. Everything that I liked is ruined. I'm going to spoil some of this near the end of the review, and I'll warn you in time. But so it's difficult to say how I really recommend this movie, because it just I liked the bulk of it until the ending. So I'd say it's worth a rental, maybe a matinee if you really want to see it. Now, I'm actually running out of time on this, so I'm just going to have to wrap it up now. Forget the spoilers. So that's it. If you want to read my written review, just check the link in my description. I'll see you guys later.